Hermann Hoth was a senior German army officer who played a major role in World War II, especially on the Eastern Front. He was born on April 12, 1885, in Neuruppin, a town in the Prussian province of Brandenburg. He grew up in a society that valued military service, discipline, and loyalty to the state. Like many young men of his social background, Hoth chose a military career early in life, seeing it as both a profession and a duty. Hoth joined the Imperial German Army in 1904 as an officer cadet. He received a traditional Prussian military education that emphasized obedience, careful planning, and strict command structures. These early years shaped his outlook and behavior for the rest of his life. He proved to be competent and serious, though not especially charismatic. By the time World War I began in 1914, Hoth was already a trained officer ready for frontline service. During World War I, Hoth served mostly on the Western Front. He worked as both a staff officer and a field commander, gaining experience in large-scale industrial warfare. The war exposed him to trench combat, heavy artillery, and the logistical challenges of modern armies. He performed well enough to earn promotions and decorations, but he did not become a famous battlefield hero. Like many German officers, he believed Germany had not truly been defeated in the field, but had been let down by political collapse at home. This belief was common among officers of his generation and influenced their later attitudes. After Germany's defeat in 1918, the Treaty of Versailles drastically reduced the size of the German military. Only a small professional army, the Reichswehr, was allowed. Hoth was one of the officers who managed to remain in service, which suggests he was viewed as reliable and capable. During the interwar years, he continued to develop as a professional soldier. The Reichswehr focused on training, planning, and preparing for a future war, even though Germany was officially forbidden from doing so. Hoth became skilled in operational planning and mobile warfare concepts. When Adolf Hitler came to power in 1933 and began openly rearming Germany, Hoth benefited from the rapid expansion of the army. He rose steadily through the ranks during the 1930s. Although there is no strong evidence that Hoth was an early or enthusiastic supporter of Nazism, he accepted the new regime and served it loyally. Like many senior officers, he focused on military success rather than political or moral questions. At the outbreak of World War II in 1939, Hoth commanded the 15 Army Corps. He took part in the invasion of Poland, which demonstrated Germany's new style of fast-moving warfare, using tanks, motorized infantry, and air support. Hoth's corps performed effectively, helping to break Polish resistance. This success strengthened his reputation as a capable commander of mobile forces. In 1940, during the invasion of France and the Low Countries, Hoth commanded a panzer corps under General Gerd von Rundstedt. His forces advanced rapidly through difficult terrain, including the Ardennes region. The speed and coordination of German armored units overwhelmed French and British defenses. Hoth's role in these operations contributed to one of the most decisive German victories of the war. After the campaign, he was promoted to command Panzer Group 3, a large armored formation. Hoth reached the height of his military career during the invasion of the Soviet Union in June 1941. As commander of Panzer Group 3, later redesignated as 3rd Panzer Army, he operated as part of Army Group Center. His units drove deep into Soviet territory, taking part in massive encirclement battles that destroyed large parts of the Red Army in the early months of the campaign. These operations showed Hoth's ability to handle large formations and complex movements over vast distances. However, the war in the East was not only a military campaign but also a brutal ideological conflict. Hoth, like many German commanders, operated within a system that carried out severe crimes against civilians, prisoners of war, and Jewish populations. In November 1941, Hoth issued an order to his troops that echoed Nazi ideology, emphasizing the need to destroy what he described as Jewish Bolshevism. This order encouraged harsh treatment of civilians and supported policies that led to mass suffering and death. While Hoth did not personally carry out atrocities, his leadership and orders contributed to a climate in which such crimes were accepted and committed. As the German advance slowed and Soviet resistance hardened, Hoth faced increasing challenges. The failure to capture Moscow in 1941 marked a turning point. During the winter counteroffensive, German forces were pushed back under terrible conditions. Hoth's army suffered heavy losses from combat, cold, and exhaustion. Despite these setbacks, he remained in command and continued to play a major role in operations during 1942. In 1942, Hoth was transferred south and given command of the 4th Panzer Army. This army took part in the German summer offensive, aimed at capturing the oil fields of the Caucasus and the city of Stalingrad. Hoth's forces advanced across southern Russia, covering enormous distances. However, supply problems, strong Soviet defenses, and strategic overreach slowed progress. When the Battle of Stalingrad turned into a disaster for Germany, Hoth's army was involved in failed attempts to relieve the encircled 6th Army. After the defeat at Stalingrad, Germany's position on the Eastern Front weakened significantly. Hoth continued to command 4th Panzer Army during the Battle of Kursk in 1943, the largest tank battle in history. His forces attacked from the southern side of the Kursk salient. Although the German army initially made some gains, Soviet defenses were too strong and well prepared. The offensive failed, and German losses were severe. Kursk marked the end of Germany's ability to launch large-scale offensives in the east. Following the failure at Kursk, Hoth was blamed in part for the lack of success. Adolf Hitler, who increasingly interfered in military decisions, lost confidence in several senior commanders. In November 1943, Hoth was relieved of his command. He was not given another major field command for the rest of the war. Instead, he spent much of the remaining time in a reserve status, effectively sidelined. After Germany's surrender in May 1945, Hoth was taken into Allied custody. He was later tried by an American military tribunal in the High Command trial at Nuremberg, one of the subsequent trials after the main Nuremberg proceedings. Hoth was charged with war crimes and crimes against humanity, mainly related to the treatment of civilians and prisoners on the Eastern Front and his role in enforcing criminal orders. In 1948, Hoth was found guilty and sentenced to 15 years in prison. The court determined that, as a senior commander, he bore responsibility for the actions of his troops and for orders that supported brutal policies. However, like many convicted German officers, his sentence was later reduced. He was released from prison in 1954 after serving about 6 years. Following his release, Hoth lived quietly in West Germany. He did not return to public life or hold any official position in the new German armed forces. He spent his later years writing and reflecting on military history, mainly focusing on operational and tactical issues, rather than moral or political responsibility. His writings showed little remorse and largely reflected the traditional viewpoint of German professional officers of his generation. Hermann Hoth died on January 25, 1971, at the age of 85. His life reflects the path of many German officers who served through the Kaiserreich, World War I, the interwar period, and World War II. He was a skilled and disciplined military commander, especially in armored warfare, but he was also part of a system that carried out immense destruction and suffering. Today, historians view him as an example of how professional competence and moral failure can exist side by side.